Welcome to the season premiere of the Freaky Film Club. I'm your host, Jeremy Jordan, and today I'm joined by three special guests, my friends from the film club, Derek, Mike, and Damon. Hey, guys.
How's it going?
Wonderful, wonderful. It's good to see you guys.
Thanks for
See
having
you
us.
too.
Last time we spoke was during the Motel Hell episode, and today we have another cult classic on our hands, even though we're a little bit away from the holidays, but that's okay. We've got Black Christmas from 1974.
I was going to say too, this is about as much of a Christmas movie as Die Hard is, because it's really not anything about Christmas. It's just, set a little bit with around the holiday time, but it's really more a straight up horror film.
Yeah. There just seems to be some Christmas sprinkled every once in a while in the background.
Just as a reminder, like, hey, Christmas is going on, but it's like, not the main focus of what's going on in the film in general.
Yeah. So 1974, directed by Bob Clark, who is best known for A Christmas Story, oddly enough, which is complete opposite end of this movie. He also did Porky's 2, and a few other films, but I won't list his whole resume here because we are on a time crunch. So film stars Margot Kidder as Barb, Olivia Hussey as Jess, Lynn Griffin as Claire, and John Saxon, the great John Saxon from Nightmare on Elm Street, as Lieutenant Fuller. And then we'll get into some of these other characters as we go along. But those are sort of the main characters that we're dealing with here. And feel free to stop me as we go through some of these plot points. And, if I go too fast and you want to talk about some stuff, I will stop. So, all right. Film opens up with the house, and then we get the opening credits, and there's a POV shot of the stranger climbing into the attic. Go ahead.
Yeah, he climbs up a lattice, which I am kind of doubtful it would actually hold his weight. But we're not sure who the killer is. This is sort of a whodunit movie as well. So I just wanted to touch base. I've seen this movie before, and I've seen the 2006 version. And actually, I saw the 2006 version before I saw this one. For everyone else, was this your first time watching the film?
This was my first time, yeah.
Mine as well, yes.
Yeah, me too.
So do you know what the killer's name is?
Billy?
Yeah, it is. I was thinking Kevin Williamson, like Billy Loomis from Scream. I bet you.
I was about to say, I thought of the same thing.
Yeah, that it comes from this. So yeah, it is Billy, because in the 2006 version, he's very much a character of who we see locked away and escapes, and he's got a skin condition. He's got like jaundice. He's all yellow. And in this film, we just kind of see his eyes, and they look a little bit weird. But we really just get his name from the obscene phone calls. But so yeah, he walks into, or he seems to be familiar with this house. We get the idea that I don't know. Did you watch any of the extra features on the DVD?
I did not.
I didn't know.
I just perused the Wikipedia page.
That it's kind of it's very possible at one time Billy lived in this house, and that's how he knows how to walk.
I was going to say that's probably why. It's kind of like the same thing with Michael Myers. He went back to the house he's familiar with, type of thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and the other thing too is he's sort of obsessed with sort of killing his sister. Same thing with Mike. So a lot of people think that the origins of Halloween come from this film.
Makes sense. So party is wrapping up as the killer continues to climb into the attic, and Barb takes a call from her mom. So kind of, just getting some character introductions here. And I believe her mom is just telling her about the future plans for the holidays, and she's about to leave at some point to go do that.
Yeah, she seemed like upset on the phone call. She was the alcoholic one.
Right.
Or, I should mention too. Olivia Hussey was coming off of Romeo and Juliet. She was kind of a big name at the time, and the other lead actor who plays by Peter, he had been in the lead in 2001: A Space Odyssey. So these were pretty big gets for a horror film. And Olivia Hussey actually, I saw that she agreed to be in the film because the psychic told her that she was going to star in a film in Canada and that would make a lot of money. So that's why she agreed. And Olivia Hussey, currently today, and her co-star in Romeo and Juliet are suing Paramount for $500 million. Because when they appeared in Romeo and Juliet, they were in a love scene where her breasts were exposed and the guy's buttocks were exposed. And even a recent interview, she said it was no big deal. It was no big deal. It was artful. And now, I think they can sense that they're going to get a big payout. That's probably why they're doing it. But I should say, when I was in, did any of you see Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah, I think we watched it in school.
Yeah, I watched it. I remember seeing it in freshman year in English class, and I remember the girls in the class. To this day, I remember how transfixed their faces were when during that scene. It was like it was magical. They were so transfixed over that.
I don't remember watching that one, but for whatever reason, we watched the Leonardo DiCaprio one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, I don't want to watch this one.
My sister was obsessed with that movie for like a few years. I just remember like running that VHS tape to the ground.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That was
not exactly the way you want to start learning that story is by the modern version of that.
Yeah. I remember reading too, like about that whole situation that the director said, if you guys don't get nude, like the movie will fail. Like it's all hinging on that.
Jeez.
But that's also what she claims. So who knows if she really even said that.
Yeah, it's funny that they brought the lawsuit after Franco Zeffirelli has passed away now, and so there's nothing to be countered. But yeah, they'll get a big chunk of money for sure.
Yeah.
I can't blame them. But this film, what stood out to me the most is Olivia Hussey's acting. She really, really brings it in this movie, and it really she employs a method acting technique that is not really generally seen in a genre film like this. I guess the only one I would compare it to would be in Texas Chainsaw, the final girl. That's a pretty intense portrayal as well. But yeah, her performance is really what makes the movie so great, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. So as Barb finishes up on the phone with her mom, the phone rings yet again, and this time Jess answers. Hello? And it is a call from the moaner. And this is a very disturbing call. It's the first of many that we'll hear. But with this one in particular, I wrote down that I just couldn't help but laugh because I'm really immature. So
there's a certain alliteration used.
Yes. Yeah, just think of the most obscene things. I can't play it on YouTube, but think of all the most obscene words you can think of, and they're all strung together. Yeah. So this kind of gives us a look into Barb as a character. She's kind of she tries to play it up as like she's a badass. She pretends whether or not she's pretending, she's saying she's not intimidated by the call, and kind of has some jabs in there, some one-liners to the dude. But there's that last line in the phone call where he just says, "I'm going to kill you." And then it gets a little more serious, I feel.
Yeah, Barb, it seems like, takes it a little too far. Like, she pushes back for the first time. and that sort of angers Billy to the point where suddenly he makes this real threat.
Honestly, that
to
the voice that Billy does in like the whole movie is like honestly really creepy itself. It's just that whole factor of not actually seeing them, and you just hear that voice. That's what I love the most. In this film, too.
Sure.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike? You've been kind of quiet.
Yeah, I just I thought that the Billy character, have any of you seen Dirty Harry?
A long
Not for
time ago.
Okay, the main psychopath in Dirty Harry, he sounded just like this guy, like with the wacko like screaming and the wailing. That character was really disturbing in Dirty Harry, and it was almost like it was the same, could have been the same actor. I don't think it was, but it was like the same type of psychopathic behavior. It reminded me of that.
Yeah.
I read that the dude who did the voice was like this Canadian Italian dude, and he said he had a blast doing this. like like he did weird stuff with his throat. And I also read that Bob Clark did a little bit of the voice stuff. It's for some of it. I don't know exactly which part, but it was mostly this other dude. So
it's kind of like in Scream as well. Like the guy who did the Scream voice had a blast doing that, and that's he continually did it in all the films.
Yeah. That's cool. I didn't know that it was the same guy throughout. That's cool. All right, so next we've got Claire going into her room to pack as the house mother arrives, Mrs. McHenry, who's our comic relief, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's referred to as Mrs. Mack in the movie.
Okay. She arrives with gifts for everybody. So they're all downstairs opening the gifts. Well, Claire is attacked in the closet. And a fun bit of trivia I read also is that the actress didn't know when this was going to happen, so she was genuinely surprised.
Yeah.
And she, just to point out too, it's sort of a cool kill scene because she's got this clear plastic in her closet, and as she gets closer, suddenly the plastic just sort of jumps out and wraps around her head and just strangles her. And throughout the film, they show shots of her in the attic with the plastic wrapped around her head, and it's just such a cool image.
That's like the image that's on the movie poster for it too, right?
Yeah.
So after that, I wrote down so Mrs. Mack goes and gets her first bottle from the old hollowed out Bible. Yeah. The old hollowed out book trick. This is an ongoing thing. There's many bottles on screen.
B for booze.
Yeah. And then as this is going on, the killer carries Claire to the attic. Did I already say this? Yes. Sorry, guys.
I don't think he said that she went to the attic.
Oh, okay.
So Billy basically hides in the attic. That's his hiding spot, and he kind of comes down when he wants to kill someone.
Right. And then Jess gets a call from Peter, and
I want to talk to you face to
basically
face.
says she wants to talk later. It's a bit of a deep discussion. And do you know what? Where's this actress from who plays Jess?
Where is she from originally?
Yeah, do you know? I thought she had a really interesting accent.
Look.
Not to derail this thing, but I thought it was very unique. I hadn't really.
I would assume like English, somewhere in England. But
yeah, that would make sense.
She's got to be, because of the lawsuit. She's got to.
Let's see. Yeah.
Is an English film, stage, and television actress.
Okay. All right. Right on. So, anyways, so yeah, she basically tells Peter like later. We'll talk later.
Peter being her boyfriend.
Right. And after that, Mrs. Mack provides more levity by being weird in the bathroom. And
Yeah, when brushing her teeth and all that.
And then covering another bottle of alcohol from the top portion of the toilet bowl.
Right. Is that really the best place you could find to like or pick to hide that? Like there has to have been a better spot in the bathroom to hide that.
Well, I think Mrs. Mack is clearly the comic relief, and Barb as well is the comic relief. And I guess the sort of dipshit cop in the
Yeah.
In the station who gets everything wrong.
Right.
But they do. When I first rewatched this, I thought to myself, "Wow, this is a lot darker of a movie than I remembered." But then, as I was watching, I was like, "No, they are trying to incorporate, comic relief at least a little bit." But it's not like Scream, where it's kind of a 50-50. This is probably about 80 dark and maybe 20 with a little bit of comedy. But I wanted to just to mention, the dark and muted colors of the film, and this was sort of a staple of a lot of films that were being produced in the 70s. What did you think of just the film aesthetic of the look of the film, like the color palette, and how dark and sort of grainy and depressing it kind of looked?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Derek. I mean,
no. You spoke first.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say. Well, I was just gonna say. It really does give you like a sense of dread, and you feel for these characters. And you, yeah. I mean, really, I don't have much else to say besides that. But
yeah, like what you just said with like the dread, the graininess, like it just kind of brings. It's not like a happy mood. The colors and all that. You're kind of like in the dark.
How many of you have seen One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest?
Another movie that we had to watch in school, actually.
That's kind of similar in terms of the film aesthetic, like the muted sort of colors and it was just that you saw that a lot in the 70s. That was a popular aesthetic, especially being a Christmas film where they could have gone in a different route and made everything bright and happy looking, but
right. It almost makes you like with that, it makes you forget that it is supposed to be Christmas. Cause like you have these lights and you have like wreaths and shit, but like you said, the palette, the color palette is muted and it's yeah. So, all right, next, Claire is shown in the chair for the first time with the plastic covering her. And, we cut to the next day, and Claire's dad waits for her and inquires about if this dude knows where she possibly could be. And it's kind of weird. I thought like this whole sequence was kind of strange. Like he gets hit with a snowball, and then doesn't the dude say like, "I'm sorry," and he says it's okay, but then he's like, "I said I was sorry." Like, why is he getting pissed? It's a weird exchange.
Yeah.
So yeah, Claire's dad, Mr. Harrison, he gets hit by a snowball from local kids. So he's Claire's dad.
If I may just come in there, what's the point of that? Why did they even need him to be hit with a snowball? Like how
probably
does that
comic relief, probably.
Yeah, and
just to show like his reaction to it and what shows type of person he is.
Just going off of what Jeremy was saying, I thought that whole like scene was kind of poorly done, like with the writing, like with how he's like, "Oh, I said I was sorry," and then afterwards the guy, the dad comes back to him, he's like, "Sorry to bother you," but it's like, we were just talking. You're not bothering me,
right? Yeah,
that was just kind of an oddly done exchange. I thought that could have been done a little better.
Yeah. So then, well, do they leave together?
The dad and the bus driver or whoever that was?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay. He
didn't he kind of just show him, kind of point him where because he was looking for the house, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So he just takes off for the house then on his own.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
All right. So then back at the house, where we got the inappropriate Santa.
Ho, ho, ho.
More
shit.
comic relief. Yeah, he's not happy because I don't even remember why he's not happy, but he's just.
I want. This might have slipped by me, but does Barb give a kid a little sip of alcohol in the scene?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
yes,
he's- yeah.
yes. A few
Like-
sips.
Mr. Harrison is like
Yes, well, if
he's
you don't have any
finds it
alcohol,
important.
go to
He's
the
like,
police
what's
station."
going on here?
So,
Well, he
so-
should. Isn't that bizarre? I mean, she was like taking joy in that.
Yeah, that was really strange.
I was gonna say that that's something you would in the 70s would probably be no big deal, but in today's world, we would think that how strange it would be to give a kid alcohol.
Yeah.
Because like when I was a kid, my parents would send me to the store to buy them, cigarettes and cigars and things like that. It was like,
Well, you're
we
not
just had-
smoking them.
No, wait, they just give me a note and just say, we
Like,
give
oh.
permission to buy this for.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but
that wouldn't
there's
work
a difference
nowadays.
between that and, hey, Damon, want a cigarette?
Well, I was just going to point out, like in the 70s, parents didn't care about their kids like the way that they care today. It was a lot of just like kids are kids and adults are adults, and it's two different worlds, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Not a lot
Yeah,
of
that makes
Mr.
sense.
Harrisons out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, nowadays you can't get caught doing any of that, or that just wouldn't even be allowed.
Yeah. So then they mentioned that Claire went to a frat house. Mrs. Mack gets ready. Oh, and then this is funny. She's like swearing at the cat, and
Yeah.
Claire's dad comes upstairs and like catches her, and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah, I was just like
God.
right behind her.
yeah."
And she turns over and I'm like, oh.
So this guy's already, he's been going through a lot in this short time that he's been interacting with these people, but it doesn't end there. So then next scene is Jess revealing to Peter that she's pregnant and she wants to get an abortion. So pretty heavy topic for a movie in the 70s, I felt. I mean,
Can we just backtrack just a moment?
yes.
I wanted to add the part too where the Mrs. Mack and Mr. Harrison are in Claire's bedroom, and he sees like all the posters on her walls.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I laughed out loud when I saw that poster of that old woman giving the middle finger. Did you
Oh.
guys see that? Did you see?
Yeah.
I actually I might end up buying that poster.
Oh, really?
That's a real poster. And
That's
What does it
awesome.
say on the poster?
it says express thyself. So it must
Okay.
have been just like a popular wall poster in the early 70s.
Mhm.
And you can find them. And there's a couple different versions with that same model. But yeah, I just thought that was great. I loved it. So I might get one of those.
Nice.
I was surprised, just kind of going into the whole comedy aspect. I was surprised at how much I actually laughed during the movie. Not so much like the second half, but more the first half. I thought there was a lot of great jokes, one-liners, physical comedy that I wasn't expecting at all. So I like that.
Yeah, right on. So yeah, back to Jess and Peter. So Peter basically doesn't take the news well. And Jess takes off.
And at this point, too, we're starting to set Peter up as the possible culprit behind the murders, that he has motivation and he's sort of losing his mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Then later that night, another creepy call happens. Some more random stuff, some gibberish, some swears, I'm sure.
You've got the
A
Or
little bit of
wrong
mixture
number.
of everything in there. Insult,
Yeah. And then Claire's dad, Barb, and Phil, or Phyllis, I guess, or is that her name, Phyllis?
It's I think it is Phyllis, but they call her Phil.
Okay. They go to report Claire missing, but it isn't taken seriously at first. And you get that wacky dude that
It's kind of a Barney Fife type character.
and there's a really funny scene here with the where Barb fucks with them and says fellatio.
Yeah, so she says that the phone number is basically you have to dial fellatio, and later on in the film, the dim-witted police officer repeats it, and everyone in the station laughs. That's one of the few laughs in the second part of the film. Yeah.
So then Jess talks to Claire's boyfriend or good friend Chris. I don't know if they're actually dating, but it's not really relevant. And he's wearing a really awesome hockey mask. I had to write that down. I thought that was an awesome looking hockey mask. And a little bit later, Peter is performing and having a difficult time, obviously.
So we get the idea that Peter's conversation with Jess caused him to malfunction during this really important recital that was supposed to elevate him to, like first chair in the orchestra or the symphony. And now his career is sort of ruined, and this is further motivation for him to be the killer.
Right. So then we're introduced to John Saxon. As mentioned before, he would later go on to be in Nightmare on Elm Street as the dad. So he is in the moment they're talking about another student who is being reported missing, and then that's when Chris,
a 13-year-old girl, has gone missing. She was walking through a park, and that's sort of a kind of a big point. That's kind of where the point in the film where I thought this film gets really, really dark when that the 13-year-old girl is found dead in the park.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't catch her age when I first watched
Yeah, she's
this.
13. Yeah, she's
Okay.
13-year-old girl. And you get the idea it must have been Billy who did it, or more than
I was about
likely.
to say, because I was going to say, did you think Billy did that before he obviously went back to the house, I'm guessing? Or
Yeah, I would guess at some point he had done that.
Yeah.
Because Billy is trying to, again, like he's trying to kill his sister. And so anyone who's young and female would be a target.
Sure. So then once Chris busts in and, has his rage moment, they start to take things a little more serious, it seems. And then back at the house, dinner's wrapping up. And before Barb goes on her drunken rant, I wrote down, what is she even doing? She's got she's writing something on a nude model with a pencil. And it's there's cutouts. I don't even know what she's doing. Just very random. But then she goes on.
Wasn't she just looking at a Playboy magazine or something? Fold out?
Yeah, but I thought she was scribbling shit on it too. I don't know. I mean,
I didn't notice that, maybe.
But either way, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So then she goes on a drunken rant, and she's like, "Oh, you think I don't know, this is my fault or something."
Basically she says Claire's having gone missing. That everyone in the house blames it on her, maybe because she's the drunk girl, and she must have somehow caused it.
Yeah.
And they basically just tell her to go to bed.
Right. Yeah.
And I thought that kind of came out of nowhere, that whole rant. I get that she was drunk, but would you guys agree that no one ever really indicated that they blamed her? I never got that sense.
I just got the sense that she was emotionally unstable, and the alcohol just kind of caused her to lose it. Everyone in the house was feeling really, really bad over Claire having gone missing, and it's getting to the point where she's been missing for so long that they suspect something bad really has happened. And so that was just basically her tipping point, where she just she doesn't handle stress well, and so she just kind of flips out.
Well, and I'd add too that I think she actually probably blamed herself. She just didn't want to say that.
Sure.
Yeah, I think so. That's probably right.
So then we cut to Peter destroying the piano with some of the most dainty hits I've ever seen.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. He's using like a mic stand, and it's just like,
The way
so
it was shot
mad.
to it.
So
Well, it's probably a low budget film, so they didn't want to actually destroy a grand piano.
makes
Trying to
sense.
make it look as real as possible, even though it was just like, okay.
That's the problem in all student films when you try to do a fight scene and it looks fake as hell, basically.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it's a lot of coordination to do that stuff like properly.
Yeah. So then they cut back to the search beginning for Claire. So now you got a big search party. You got the officers and Miss Mac and all the others except for Barb, obviously, go out as well. Oh
they're
no!
searching for Claire and the 13-year-old girl.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
Then again, shortly after this, Miss Mac returns to the attic to look for the cat.
So yeah, that's a kind of an important plot point. So we brought up earlier that the cat was kind of the butt of a joke, but that was to introduce the cat as a character, because now the cat is in the attic and there's no way that the cat could have physically got into the attic
Yeah.
unless someone
The
brought
cat
her
knows how to
out
open
there.
the door and then
So once she gets up there, she immediately discovers the body of Claire, but has very little time to react as she is impaled by a hook.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
they don't even
a
show it,
swinging
like-
hook.
yeah, like so is it swinging, but they don't actually like show like the full like impact of it.
which is something I noticed a lot about this movie. Is like you don't see a lot, but it's very effective. It's just
Mhm.
like your mind fills in a lot of the blanks.
Yeah.
So
Which is like the same thing with Halloween too. You don't see like a lot of that, like not gore or anything like that.
right.
It really shows the impact of what it can really do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you get a POV shot of the killer freaking out in the attic, which is not supposed to be funny, but I mean, to me, I was like, this is a little humorous. It's just, I don't know. It's a little cheesy.
Yeah.
Then back in the park, they finally find the body of Janice, who is the 13-year-old girl. That's just when shit starts getting real.
Yeah, this is the point of the film that they're really starting to go down a dark path from the earlier part of the film where it was more comedic.
So then back at the house, Jess gets another weird phone call and reports it. And then a few moments later, Peter comes down from upstairs randomly and scares her.
Yeah, so that's kind of an important plot point too, because he'd been seen in a separate shot kind of lurking outside the house, and then he slowly comes down the stairs just as Billy had done earlier.
Mhm.
And you get the idea that he could again be the killer. But he tells Jess that he was just quote unquote taking a nap in her bed.
Yeah.
which I guess-
Because why not?
when you have a fight with your girlfriend over abortion, you tend to take a nap in her bed later on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
Smooth things
sense.
over.
It makes sense. It helps get over the situation.
Yeah, so then they get into another fight. Tries to convince her once more tries to convince her to get married this time. And he's like, I'm quitting the conservatory. I'm leaving.
Yeah, and actually uses the word calls her a selfish bitch for wanting to get an abortion. And Claire's response I think is pretty genuine, and she says, there's still a lot of things I want to do with my life. Like I liked you, Peter, because you had so much artistic promise, and it just seems like you're giving it all up. at this point, and but I'm not going to give that up. So I thought that was this is a really key scene.
Sure. Eventually, this ends with Peter storming off, and next we cut back to the station, and the fellatio prank gets its payoff, because this is the part where everyone, or the two officers, are cracking up, and they're like, "It's not a real thing, you dummy." So then we back at the house. Oh wait, I already said that, but they stormed off. This was the police thing was kind of in the middle of the fight. So then the police show up and they put a tap on the phone. A lineman comes and puts a tap on the phone. And
Which you haven't seen, and I haven't seen this technique in a film in a long time. Just because no one talks about tapping a phone anymore. But this used to be a plot point in many, many films, that you have to keep someone on the phone long enough for them to tap the phone. Also, the original, this film is based off of an urban myth of the babysitter and the man upstairs. So have we all heard of this myth before, or is
I actually just
unfamiliar with it?
recently, Kelly was telling me about it. She knew about this movie like even before I did. So,
Mike, have you heard of this urban legend before?
No, but isn't that what the movie When a Stranger Calls was about too?
It is, yeah. So basically, there's someone's calling from within the house. That's the punch, or that's the climax, as you learn that the killer is in the house with the babysitter. So that's what they're sort of setting up with this film and the Jess character.
So then Jess hears Barb having an asthma attack after the police are all done in there.
But Barb actually says to Billy, enters her room as though he's going to kill her. He looks at an ornament of like a horse, a unicorn with a obviously the unicorn. You can impale someone with a unicorn. But just before then, she wakes up and Jess comes in, or is it Phil? Phil comes in.
No, it's Jess. It's Jess.
Jess.
Yeah.
And she says she just woke up from a nightmare where some strange man was in the room with her. So that's kind of a creepy point too.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Jess goes back downstairs as she hears carolers at the door. And it's a cool sequence because you get cutting back and forth between the carolers and Barb's death. So
I remember what was it? Jaws Revenge did that? Like when the one Brody kid was getting killed between the shark and like carolers outside. It was like almost the same exact thing. Like the fourth Jaws film did that at the very beginning.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so this would have 74. Jaws was 76. So maybe Spielberg got the idea from this film, or whoever the writers were. But yeah, in terms of
the fourth film, yeah.
In terms of the Christmas aspect, this is probably the most Christmas that you'll see within the film is the carolers, because it is a well done sequence for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jess seems to really be emotionally responding to the carolers.
And then Jess receives another call, and this time she suspects Peter because of the wart removed comment, which he brought up during the last fight they had, where he's kind of like, you just want to kill them, or like you're removing a wart or something.
Yeah, so there's a good plot point too, that we get the idea that Billy must have been nearby and listening to their fight, and that's how he knew what to say.
Yeah. So then yet again another call happens, and this time she tries to keep the caller on the line as long as possible, but it's still not long enough. And the Jess and Phil get scared by search party members.
Yeah. a random group of guys, they're caught looking into the window, and then they come to the door and just basically say, we're looking for who might have killed this 13-year-old girl, and then basically like lock your doors kind of.
Right. These people definitely remind me of some people I might have seen in my town a few times.
Yeah.
Some weird townies.
It's like small town vigilante justice kind of.
Yeah. So just starts locking stuff up, receives another strange call. And I'm assuming at this point, Phil has already been killed because she goes into the room and the door closes behind her.
Yeah, Phil goes into the room and then the door swiftly closes, and so you get the idea that Billy must still be in the room, and he offs her as well.
So now we get they drop the line. Calls coming from inside the house. First, it's John Saxon's character who initially is talking to the lineman, of course, getting the information. And he's like, "What? No, that's where the calls are coming from." And then he's like, "Oh, they're also blah blah blah."
Yeah.
And so you get that, and he tries to tell that really dopey officer to like play it cool and like not freak her out, but he freaks her out.
Well, he tells her, he explains to her that, like, oh, just, set the phone down, open up the front door and walk away, and he's trying to be as calm as possible.
Yes, yeah.
And so that's an interesting point. Like, if, let's say you're on the phone with a police officer and he tells you to do that, do you do what he says, or do you go up and try to find out if your friends are in trouble? Because this is sort of like the big hero moment for the Jess character. So what, Mike, would you just walk out the door, or would you go back for your friends?
I'd probably go back, but I mean, who knows in that type of situation?
Yeah.
I will just add though, you guys Derek really hasn't said anything, but you two keep ripping on that desk sergeant.
Yeah.
Why was he so like dopey? I mean, yeah, he didn't know the sex reference, but like what, otherwise he did his job pretty well, didn't he?
Well, there was some other things I thought, like, didn't he, well, first of all, didn't just the fact that like he wasn't taking it serious from the get-go.
Yeah.
Well, nobody was though in the whole department.
Yeah, but he was
Right?
clearly supposed to be like a dope, I thought. I don't know.
I thought people in that movie just shit all over him for no reason. I thought he was a good guy.
I think it's common in police stations. It's common to give, if someone's a screw up, that they get desk duty, and so he's kind of like the screw up that gets the desk duty. That's the way I kind of saw it.
Yeah, that's a good point. But somebody's got to run the desk.
Yeah. And it was him.
They give it to the guy with the lowest
And
IQ.
I just want to add something else that I don't know what his name. I don't think he had a name, but that other detective or officer, the one who was in the same office as the chief, or the John Saxon character.
Yeah.
When he was laughing like at the fellatio thing, and there was another time he was laughing at something. What did he do? Like, what? That guy didn't do anything. All he did was laugh at the other guy. Like, he didn't have a job. He didn't really have any lines. All he did was laugh at the other guy.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything.
He got the gravy job. He must have just known somebody. That's how he got in.
I think he was in there just to kind of show that everyone in the police station thought that the clerk at the counter was a fool, basically.
Well, I was on his side.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I may have to do a second watch just to go through that again.
Yeah. Maybe I've been a
like,
little too hard on him.
Yeah.
Well, because I remember too, and I remembered I wanted to mention something real quick. Did any of you guys notice what Claire's boyfriend was wearing when he walked into the police station?
Mm-mm.
Hockey stuff or
No, he was wearing a fur coat.
oh yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah.
That's
We know some
awesome.
guy who wore a fur
I
coat
thought
once.
one of you would mention that. I was like, somebody's going to mention that. I'm surprised nobody did.
Yeah.
I guess that just totally must have went right past me. I must have been writing something down really furiously at the time.
So for the viewers, the film club back when we would meet at UW Waukesha for a number of meetings, person with a large like purple pimp coat showed up to the meetings and was just socially awkward and we just kind of had fun with him.
Yeah.
And eventually he moved, I think, to Florida.
I just remember him showing up at the first film fest and he was just there and I'm like, all right, you're helping us out. You know what's going on apparently.
What a legend.
Yeah.
All these years later, the guy has no clue that we're still just bring him up randomly.
This would be a good point too. If Mike, if you still have this, Mike made a collage. It was a holiday card of the film club, and all of us are on it in purple coats on it too. So maybe we could show that in the video.
No, I remember that. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, because Mike, it was you, Damon, and myself. We were like eating out, and then we got like talked about like putting everybody in one card from the film club, and like everybody else was like around us.
I thought you made it, Derek. Didn't
Well,
you? put it together?
I did like the Photoshop thing, but you turned it in like a Christmas card.
Oh, the Christmas.
Yeah. Season's greetings from the film club.
That's right. I remember that. Yes.
And then it
was
had
fun.
like Rex going like this, and then he was like, "Hold, yeah."
And America's in it, and Amanda's in it. So you got everyone in it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you
Good
still got
times.
that, send it to Jeremy so he can insert that into
Okay.
the video.
So here is where we kind of get our big climax of the film. To add to what you'd said about Jess as an actress here being really good, I wrote down what an awesome performance by Jess, particularly in this moment where she's yelling for her friends.
He picks up a fire poker as a weapon.
Right. And so she goes upstairs. Oh, I guess we never really finished answering your scenario. If you wanted to either of us two to answer that.
Oh yeah. So what would you, Jeremy?
I'd like to say I'd go back for my friends, but I'm kind of a baby, so I might just listen to the cops and act on my gut and just leave. Derek?
Depends upon which friends. No. In all seriousness, no. I'd probably go back in and check, depending upon how freaked out I was. But the
Really?
seriousness of the situation.
At this moment, Jess, all she has to do is unlock the door and go at the front, and her life will be saved.
Mm-hmm.
But she chooses, again, to go after her friends and put her life in pretty mortal danger at this point.
Yeah.
Well, if I could just add though, she had problems unlocking that door later, didn't she?
I don't think she ever does unlock the door. No, because when she runs down the stairs, and she attempts to flee out the front door, it's locked.
Okay.
So this is the point in which she sees the killer looking through the door crack.
The eyeball.
Yeah.
She sees an eyeball looking through.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be whoever. It's an eyeball.
Fair. Okay, that's true. Yeah. And
Well, wait though. Just what do you mean? It could be whoever.
It could be Peter. Or it could be her boyfriend.
But she heard him talking crazy.
Who?
He was talking crazy with the Agnes and Billy and whispering to himself.
But the person on the phone and the killer in the house might not be the same person.
was he whispering like behind the door when she?
Yeah.
Oh.
When he's looking through the crack.
I think he says Agnes. He says something about Agnes, and then she sees the eyeball. and she begins to run down the stairs, and Bill, he grabs her by the hair. She never looks back. Unlike myself, I looked back and I saw the Canadian geese, and I realized I wasn't going to be abducted by a UFO. But she never looks back, and so she never really sees who the killer is. She can't open the front door, and so Billy loses her grip, and she runs into the basement and deadbolts the basement. Billy kicks on the door, but is not able to open it.
Yes.
Was the meeting being recorded when you talked about the Canadian geese thing? Are people even going to know what you're talking about when you just said that?
Yeah, Jeremy started it right away.
Okay. Okay.
When I was a kid, or not a kid, I was in high school. I don't know if I told you the story or not, but I thought that I saw a UFO. I used to watch the Unsolved Mysteries, all growing up, and every other episode was UFO. And they always said it was like a black triangle would come at you, And so I was biking along at night, and I was by a parking lot that had, lights, kind of like with the witch. And then I looked up and I saw a black triangle, silent, coming at me. And to this day, I would be completely sold that I had seen a UFO. For sure, I would have seen it, because immediately, so I looked down and I'm just thinking, I'm going to get abducted. I'm going to, it's everything. My first thought was everything from Unsolved Mysteries is true. Everything. It was all true.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And then I'm like, but I gotta know. I gotta look back one more time. And so I look up, and it's just Canadian geese flying in triangle formation. But I would have been completely, for the rest of my life, I would have been absolutely sure I'd seen a UFO if I hadn't looked at it.
That's funny.
Is this a news story? Or
Yeah.
okay, then you have to tell me after we're done filming this.
So now, once she's downstairs, we see a mysterious shadow across the glass window of the basement, and it's revealed that it's Peter. And he breaks in, and he sort of starts coming towards her slowly, and she's backing away, holding the poker. And the rest, this all kind of happens very quickly here. The police arrive, and as they're arriving, we hear Jess screaming. They finally get to the basement, and Jess is barely conscious, and we have a bloody Peter in her lap. That sounded wrong. But yeah, so the police are obviously like, oh, well, that's it. He did it. It was Peter. And we kind of flash forward to the future a little bit, and they're putting Jess to bed.
Which I found a little bit unbelievable. Like, I think that she would definitely have been taken to a hospital.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think they just wanted to set up the fact at the very last sequence that, everyone leaves and Billy technically could come down and kill her as well. And just to make that a sort of the scary little epilogue to the film.
Sure. Yeah.
If I could just ask, I didn't really even understand what was the need for Jess to be in the bed. Like, what happened to her? I don't really know. I didn't get that.
No one knows, because we never saw the fight she had. Assuming that her and Peter got into a confrontation and she killed him with the poker.
Okay.
That's all we can assume, because she was just. Peter was dead and she was sort of half conscious.
So was she just resting on her own, or was she like under sedation?
I mean, that's not really clear. That's why I said, in reality, I'm sure they would have taken her to a hospital.
I will say the Wikipedia plot page does say sedation.
Oh,
it does, but.
Well, and I'll add too, I think there was a doctor there, right? he made a house call.
What? I don't know. Was it? I don't remember that.
I don't know why, but I was under the impression that this was a doctor who came to the house,
Okay.
which was more common back then.
Sure.
Got to come over to visit and check on you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention too is how did you guys link this with the Idaho murders as you were watching this?
No, I
Mhm.
don't even know what that is, to be honest with you.
Really?
I'm sorry.
You mean the murders that just happened like a couple months ago?
Back in November, yeah.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
really intrigued by how you connected that.
That's the first thing I wrote down. I wrote down, murder, because as a group, what happened was it was a group of girls living in a house together, and they all get murdered by a stranger who comes into the house. It's just kind of the same plot point.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
well, I guess I didn't connect it because I wasn't aware of all the details. So he had no connection at all to those girls.
Well, the court case hasn't been, hasn't gone forward, so we don't know until the court case happens. But just the idea that there's this group of college females living in a house together, and a male enters and kills them.
Was the guy a student at that university?
He was a student at I think in Washington. He was a Washington State. He was like a PhD student studying like criminology.
Oh,
And so they
geez.
kind of paint the picture that he was like kind of wanted to practice to see if he could do the perfect murder.
Interesting.
Kind of thing.
Huh.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Effed up.
So none of you thought of that, huh? I'm the only one who
No.
thought that.
Well, but that does make
Nope.
sense now that you brought it up. It does have that relation.
I think we probably would have. It sounds like the rest of us didn't really know the case.
Yeah.
Well, it's on almost like every night in the nightly news. They talk about
You
it.
said that was back in November?
Yeah, it happened early in November, and then they couldn't find the guy for a long time. Like it looked like he got away. Whoever he did it.
You said it was in
And then-
Idaho?
Yeah,
Or where?
Moscow,
Idaho.
Moscow,
Okay.
Idaho. These girls living together at a quote unquote party house.
Yeah.
And so people would be coming and going at all times. And then it was weird too, because he went in and he murdered them in their sleep, kind of like how Barbie gets killed. And as he was walking down the stairs and he had a mask on, I'm guessing like a COVID mask. And then one of the other sorority girls or people living in the house saw the guy, and then she didn't call 911 for like hours, like 6 more hours or something like that. She just like went into her bedroom and like went into the closet and hid.
Oh my God.
So
Jeez.
yeah, it was a real life Black Christmas kind of thing.
It's terrifying.
No, that seems a little familiar, but I mean, then again, I'm not in news anymore, so otherwise I probably know it pretty well. But
So yeah,
But yeah, that does
they
seem
they caught him because they caught a glimpse, like a gas station had a camera that caught a glimpse of like a white Kia, and then that was his car, and then like basically that's how they tracked him down. Then
Okay.
and then they got his DNA evidence through like sifting through his garbage, and he was even like he was taking his garbage to a neighbor's, and but they were watching him, so they knew to shift or go through the neighbor's garbage and find his DNA. So
Jeez.
yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, so to quickly wrap up the film here, we just, we have we know the killer is still in the house because he is descending the ladder. And we close out with the bodies of Claire and Mrs. Mack. And that's it, basically.
There is actually one shot as the camera pulls back, that there is a police officer outside still guarding
Oh,
the
yes.
house. So this idea that maybe Jess is still somewhat safe because there's this police officer outside sort of watching over the house.
Sure. So, I mean, that was Black Christmas. And we'll get right into the hell yeah moments. My hell yeah moment was probably Barb's death scene.
Oh yeah.
Or they cut back and forth between that and the carolers. I just think it was really well done and very cool sequence. So
I agree.
My hell yeah would be Claire's murder with the plastic bag. That was, I think that's just that was, and then just them going back and showing that her in the attic was just such a creepy image.
It was like too, like during while she was like in the attic, she was like going back and forth, and then he was
rocking her.
Yeah,
like as though she were the sister, Agnes. At points he sings to her as well.
I mean, he's got the creepy doll in her lap at one point.
Yeah. Mike, what about you? What's your hell yeah moment?
I would say it's not one of the deaths or anything. I would say it's what I said before about the surprise humor that was added in there. I probably would say the Mrs. Mac character would be my favorite moment. I was actually kind of sad when they killed her because.
Oh, were you really?
Oh yeah.
I was actually kind of like, yeah.
Oh my god.
I just found her annoying.
Watch out for this guy.
I don't know. Something about her just seemed a little bit annoying to me. Just the bathroom scene and personality a little bit.
It was
the whole kitty, like looking for her cat and the cat thing. It's like she just annoyed me. I knew she
to
was
the point where you want her dead. Oh my god.
I know that sounds mean, but I'm like, I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, well, and I'm not against it happening. I wish they would have did it later, though, just because we could have had more time with her.
Right, that's true.
But I was going to add just something, kind of a broad point. I thought it was funny that the director ended up doing A Christmas Story because I thought that this movie, in a way, is kind of like the poster that was on the wall. It's like a middle finger to Christmas movies because nobody, and this is something I enjoyed, nobody seemed to be happy during this time. And I get that I'm talking before the killings were happening. And that, I mean, like, the Santa Claus guy, he was miserable. The kids are sitting on his lap and he's like swearing.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why. I don't know what his problem was.
Yeah.
And then the Mrs. Mac, obviously, she's not she's not merry at all, the way she was like behind Mr. Harrison's back, like giving him the middle finger and stuff. I just thought it was funny how this is like anti-Christmas, and I just think it's so ironic that the same director ended up doing like one of the most well-known and beloved Christmas movies ever.
Yeah.
I think that's funny he did that.
Yeah, definitely.
You can show.
Did you guys see what happened to him? The director?
Bob Clark?
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
Did you see how he died?
Mm-mm.
It was sad. He died from a drunk driver.
Oh man.
I think I do recall that now, yeah.
That's
What
awful.
was that like?
He and his son were killed by a drunk driver in 2007 in Los Angeles. And the guy who killed them was an illegal immigrant. And he only got 6 years.
Damn.
That's it.
So he's probably out already.
Yeah.
So
That's shitty.
6 years is like nothing for killing two people.
I agree.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's pretty shitty.
So I was sad to see that's how Bob Clark's,
His story,
life ended.
Yeah. But what a legacy. I mean, he did a ton of shit.
Yeah, like his legacy is shown every year for one of the biggest holidays of the year. So
Yeah.
Does anybody know how he got so involved in Canadian movie making? Because he was American. Does anybody know how he got involved with? Because like every movie he made was a Canadian production.
I don't
I
know.
do not know.
Not sure.
I think I read that they were getting a grant from sort of the arts board of Canada, and
Okay.
maybe that's why they filmed it in Canada, is because they were able to. Remember, keeping in mind, this is shot on film, and film was expensive to shoot on. It's not like us with our digital cameras where we can just turn them on and record and record and record. That in order to make a film, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, that was a lot of money.
It's expensive. Keep on buying film and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. All right. Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's just like the piece together too, in general, the process compared to how quick things are to transfer footage and just non-linear editing nowadays. So
Yeah, it seemed very tedious.
Can I ask a quick question, everybody? So I like the movie a lot, but there was one thing that just really that I didn't believe, and this is it. So obviously, when Billy was making all the phone calls, he's being like really loud, like he's screaming, making all these noises. How would no one have heard him in the house?
no, I thought the same thing. It's just like, how did they not hear moving upstairs? Any of that stuff? Like, he is pretty loud on the phone, like you just said.
Yeah,
Nobody heard
right.
that.
That's a great
And they
question.
heard the screaming of Barb when she was having her asthma attack.
Mhm.
That's the one thing that I was like, you guys could have figured a way to address that.
We only know that the very last call was made from within the house, though, as well. Maybe he was calling from other places earlier in the film.
Because there was a phone in the attic because he was up there in the past, right? Is that why there was a phone randomly in the attic?
The phone wasn't in the attic. That was
No.
Mrs. Mack's room.
Oh, okay. Because I kept thinking like the phone was in the actual attic itself for some reason.
Yeah, because the detective, he made it a very clear point, and this is when I knew that it was going to be coming from the house, because he made like a big point of it, where he said, when they were doing the phone tapping, he said, there's another phone in the Mrs. Mack's room, but it's a different line.
Oh yeah, I do
Okay.
remember that.
Which then
Yeah.
set it up for me, at least, where, well, that's how he's going to be doing it. That's
Okay.
that's where the calls are going to be coming from.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was in her room.
Okay. Yeah. Because I was always confused. Like, why is there a phone in the attic?
Do you guys remember also seeing that record? It said like the McHenry twins. It was pretty quick. It was a quick shot, but it's like, are they leading us to believe that at one point in life, Mrs. Mack was like part of like a musical singing group?
No, I don't recall that, but yeah, I'm sure that's probably what they were intending or something. It was the same last name.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
The Mrs.
Yeah.
Mack character obviously doesn't really, she's the house mother, but she's more interested in just like she kind of finds the sorority girls annoying, and she's just mostly just there to like have a free place to live and drink.
That's why she has liquor like hidden in books and in the bathroom and everywhere else.
Yeah. Mm.
Well, I didn't get that vibe from her. To me, it seemed like she legitimately enjoyed taking care of the place. No?
Well, if you have that big of a problem with alcohol, it's probably suggests that she doesn't like her job so much.
I don't necessarily agree with that. There's people who are alcoholics in all types of work.
Maybe.
Because I mean, I know she was annoyed with like Mr. Harrison, but I mean, she talked about like getting that door fixed like 50 times. She, because the door was broken. She's like, I called that son of a bitch 100 times. And then she made dinner for them.
That's
She
fair.
made the dinner for everybody. So to me, it seemed like the alcoholism to me was not anything to do with that
relating to the
job.
girls at all.
It was just she's an alcoholic. You
Mhm.
know, it's
Mhm.
not connected. That's how I took it.
Okay.
Well, all right. Well, final rating, since we're getting close to having to wrap this thing up, we might as well get into our final ratings. And I'm going to give my final rating of 4 bottles of booze out of 5. I thought the movie just moved really well, great performances, and more than just a mindless slasher. I mean, there was there was some heavy stuff in there, and they had some funny moments, and it was really great, I thought. So what about you, Derek? What do you think?
I'll have to agree with you on 4. What was it? 4 bottles of booze out of.
Yeah, out of 5.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely worth a second watch again because there's like what Mike, like some certain things that he pointed out about the police off, like the desk and all that, with how they were acting. That's worth a second watch on my end. So I didn't feel that. I mean, last one we reviewed, like there were certain things that I did like about it, things that I just thought were completely strange. But this one I feel like more excited to want to watch again, like sooner than later.
Do you want to go, Damon, or should I go?
You go, Mike.
Okay. I say, so is the bottle of booze thing, is that a Mrs. Mac reference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like it.
Thanks.
I would actually probably give it like a 4.5.
Okay.
I really, despite the little thing I said about how they'd be hearing him screaming and all that, I really liked it. I
Mhm.
liked that they didn't get real graphic. I actually
Yeah.
thought this was going to be a pretty violent movie. I don't know why I thought that, but I thought it was going to be gruesome. Because a lot of movies during that time period were.
Yeah.
Like I remember Last House on the Left, I thought was sick. And that was around that time. But yeah, I like that they didn't go far with the gruesomeness, kind of like what Jeremy said, or I think Jeremy said that, where it lets you fill in the details. I like that. I also like that it wasn't like this big like sorority thing where, okay, we're gonna have a lot of sex and everything. I like that they kept it just pretty realistic.
Mhm.
I thought they did a good job that way.
I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna use a flask of alcohol, 5 out of 5 flask. But it's gonna be a specific flask. It's gonna be a Josh flask.
Josh.
Oh my God.
Jeremy, you need to have like a picture show up right as Damon says that. No.
Who was the worst film club
Flask.
member we ever had?
What if he sees this?
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh, they remember me.
The very last thing
Well-
he did is he charged me. I tried to take a photo of him. He charged me and almost broke my phone. So
If he
Yeah.
makes it this far into the Freaky Film Club episode, sorry, Josh.
we do want to just end with one final thought: is what do you think of the resurgence of the horror genre of these, the recent years? Because beyond Marvel, the films that are making money are all the horror films, and not only that, you're getting films like Megan with 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. 5 years ago, there's no way in hell that Megan would have got 95%. I think it has to do with the production company A24, that they put out a lot of art house horror films, and so critics felt like with like Pearl and X, that it's okay to like horror. And now they're just sort of like, finally admitting that they actually do like horror films. Whereas before they were afraid to give a horror film a good review because they thought it would make them a lesser of a critic, but these are sort of horror's finest days, these last, few years and months.
Did you see the movie, what is it, Smile, with Kevin Bacon's daughter is the lead?
Yeah, Mike and I saw it.
What'd you guys think of that?
It was good.
Was it? No.
Made a
I've
lot
been
of
meaning
money
to check that one out.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in a horror renaissance right now, for sure.
It's pretty awesome. I dig it.
So Damon, did you saw Megan?
hmm
What did you
Yeah.
think of it?
It's good. It's a good movie. When I saw the trailer, they released a trailer where the Megan doll does this sort of strange dance, and I didn't realize. I saw it and was like, "This looks really dumb." But then I saw that it got high ratings, so I decided to go see it. And I guess the reason that they released her doing that dance was because it was just a clever marketing ploy to get like young teenagers to get excited to see it, and then it worked. So I think I checked today on Box Office Mojo, and it's worldwide. It's at like 90 or a little over 90, so it's going to cross 100.
Okay.
Wow.
Cool.
Well, I was gonna say was that you, Damon, who shared that, or maybe I just saw it somewhere, but people as a way of spreading word about the Smile movie, they were having actors go to like baseball games, like professional baseball games, and just do the smile, just stand somewhere and just have the creepy smile. And there's like videos on social media of this girl like standing at Yankee Stadium. It's raining, so everybody else was like under the cover area, and she's the only person in the bleachers standing in the rain with the smile on her face. She
That's
looks like a psycho.
awesome.
Wow.
I gotta look that up.
And that's how they
funny.
got word out about the movie.
That's
Well,
cool.
even too, like you guys probably noticed in the theaters when they like would advertise, like show a clip of that movie, it was like really quick, and it was like everybody. I remember in the theater, people were like, "What the heck was this? What was that?" Like intrigued people. I mean, intrigued me. But it was just like people like either laughed at it or like, "Huh." I just remember like hearing those reactions in the theater when I would show it.
Well, I remember, Damon, you I thought didn't think that you thought it might not be that good, because I remember that part in the trailer where they, it's kind of overdone, where she like walks to the car and her like, her like neck breaks and it's like hanging upside down.
Yeah.
But it was pretty good. The ending,
Cool.
I thought the ending got a little too out there, just a little too weird for my taste. But
Is it worth like purchasing like on Blu-ray and that, saying like, okay, I would want to watch this again after seeing it, or it's like, oh, it's good for maybe a one-time watch?
I think he'd probably like to watch it multiple times.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know about it for me. I don't know. I don't really have a comment.
All right. Well, I hate to do this, guys, but I have another recording immediately after this. So
Sounds
we're going to have to wrap this up. But thank you so much for doing this yet again and being on the show for the season premiere episode. I've been Jeremy Jordan, and this has been the Freaky Film Club. Thank you, guys.
No problem. Thanks again.
You guys.
Bye-bye.